Hey everybody, Page's MMA dad, Rich Finaldi. It is Monday night. How are you doing today? Basically, I put a post out the other night about storytelling. Hey Larry, how you doing, brother? It's not the person that makes the best impact is not the person with the best story. The person that has the best impact on their audience is the person that tells their story the best. Hey Chuck, how you doing, brother? Anyway, so listen, a lot of people have all these stories about their life, where they came from, drugs, suicide attempts, all this stuff, right? And the thing is that those stories make tremendous impacts because you see people that have been through crazy, crazy lives, right? And all of a sudden, when they're at the brink of death, the brink of losing everything, and all of a sudden they come back and they're resurrected and they come from the ashes, and then all of a sudden they have a pretty goddamn incredible story, right? But here's the thing. My background is just seeking the life I want to live and getting out of the life that I have to live or feel I have to live, right? So here it is, corporate America, 26 years, right? And the fact of the matter is, going through all tough jobs and trying to find the right job, going through horrible coworkers, horrible bosses, right? Now, that might not sound as glamorous or as romantic as the story as somebody trying to commit suicide or, being a heroin addict and making the big comeback from that. But everybody has a story, and don't think your story is not worth anything to tell, because it's how you tell your story. And the best way to tell your story is to discover yourself. See, a lot of people have great things to talk about, but they just don't know how to get it out. They don't know how to get the message out there, okay? And that's what I'm trying to help people with. The fact is that if you don't know how to convey a message, if you don't know how to meet people where they're at in their life, the message won't resonate with them. They won't be hearing you. It won't become alive to them. And all the people that I've heard that have resonated, their messages have resonated with me, is because they met me where we're at. And when you're telling a great story is when that person that listens to you, or persons, feels like you are talking directly to them. That is the key. That's when the story you're telling is making the best impact. It may not be the most glamorous, the most like the biggest story, like you can make a movie out of it. And don't get me wrong, these unbelievable testimonies that I've heard of people, coming out of just like incredibly crazy, abuse from foster homes and all this crazy stuff. Like, I'm just sitting there listening onto these lives, and I'm like, my mouth is dropped. It's unbelievable. And maybe because those people, they do have a lot of impact with their stories, because they have been so on the bottom. Their lives have been so unbelievably hard that it's like so alive to them, and it's so vivid in their imagination that it's so easy for them to convey that message. But what if you're like me? What if you're like me, just trying to get out of the corporate life and giving people hope that there is a way out of your job or your career or whatever it is that you don't like in your life? It could be fitness, it could be relationships, it could be anything. But I am here to tell you that your story, as though you might think it's boring to you, there's somebody in the world that definitely needs to hear it. And how you package your story, that's where you learn how to give it the most impact to your audience. Now, one good tip I'm going to give you is this. The more you discover yourself, the more you can help others discover their message, okay? And they begin to trust you. They begin to help you. So here, how can you spin your story into a business and get paid for it? It's very possible. I mean, think about it. There's people with eating disorder, drug addiction, battling depression, suicide. And listen, the fortunate thing for us coaches is that we live in a pretty screwed up world, as I don't have to tell you that, right? So you just have to find the conflict. You got to find the things, the trials, the tribulations that you have been through in your life, and just start writing it down. The best way to put your feelings into words is actually to start journaling, writing them down. So the tip I'm going to give you today to really have an impact with your story, whatever it is to write your thoughts down, whatever it might be. Write what you've been through, and write what you've been through in the past, and write where you are today, and write where you want to be in the future. I've said this many times, from Marshall Gillen's 5-day challenge, that 5-day challenge that he gave to us. He said, write a 6-month letter to yourself. And it was one of the most liberating, coolest things that I ever did in my life, right? Because I wrote to myself, my future self, from 6 months from now in October, right? That, you know, where I've been, where I am now, where I want to be. And I'm telling you, tears came out of my eyes. It was unbelievable. And I read this 6-month letter 2 times a day. And you know what it does for me, this 6-month letter to myself? Because when October rolls around, is everything going to come true that I wrote in that letter, the way, you know, that letter is to my future self? It may not. But I know one thing. When I read that letter, it's like actually becoming more and more a reality day by day, which is pretty unbelievable. And here's the great part. When you want to fashion your story, like I'm telling you my story right now, when you discover yourself more and more, your why, what your why is, why you're doing this, why you're doing everything you want to do in your life, right? When you discover that more and more, we're always in, as humans, we're always in the state of becoming, right? The biggest, craziest lie that we tell ourselves and society tells us is that, you know what? Oh, he's gotten to a certain age, he's set in his ways. But if you believe that lie, if you believe that limited mindset of believing we're set in our ways and we can't change, guess what? We're never going to change. We're never going to change. When you start to get a light in your life and the spark gets in your soul and your heart, and you start saying to yourself, oh my God, you know what? This is what I said to myself. Oh my God, I don't have to be a desktop support tech, you know, for the rest of my life. I don't have to be an IT corporate. I don't have to be chained to a cubicle cell for the rest of my life. You know what? I'm going to tell the rest of the world that. My mantra is on my Facebook page, my quote. I came up with it. I want to teach people to live a life they want to live instead of living a life they feel they have to live. That is my mantra, because you know what? How many people say, oh, you got college, you got bills, I got to send this, that, the mortgage, this and that. And you know what? Yeah, we create our own prisons. I know that. But I'm telling you, everybody, it is never too late to embrace your passions in life. Because I know one thing. I'm 48 next month, right? And I don't want to work for somebody the rest of my life. You know, God gives me 20, 30 years left of my life. If I live to my 80s, God willing, you think I really want to do something I can't stand? And you know what? Guess what? No, I don't want to do that. And I know you don't want to either. So you know what? This is when you start looking inward. You start developing a story, and you start putting this story into words just the way I am right now. And then the rest will shape itself. Everybody, give me a comment, give me a like, give me a share. Let me know what you think. Take care. Have a good night. Take it easy.